so different.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, my We Are Not So Different family. Thank you for choosing to spend another morning with us as we dive in. So this morning's guest, Miss Amanda, would you prefer I call you Mindy?
Amanda's cool.
Okay, Miss Amanda Fludd.
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, Miss Amanda. I should have did that off camera, but y'all family, we know how y'all know how we roll around here. Good morning, Miss Amanda. How you doing?
Oh, I'm fantastic. It's so good to be here with the community.
Yes,
always good to chat.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. So, people, y'all know the drill. Find your favorite spot on the couch, get your favorite drink, whether it's Kool-Aid or Cavassier, and to tune in. Yes, we got to give them choices. We can't.
Right. I'm gonna just sip my tea, okay?
And there's no judgment.
About what's in my cup.
No judgment. Whatever spectrum you on, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. Okay. So, to give you guys a little bit of background about Miss Amanda, she is a licensed psychotherapist, a private practice owner in New York, an adjunct professor, and a corporate mental health consultant. She has taken over 15 years of experience from the couch to help women live a life without guilt, anxiety, or fear as a mindset and personal development coach. She's passionate about women of color embracing the importance of mental health in their everyday lives. And it is here in her background in mental health gives her an edge as a coach, as she infuses psychology of what works to inspire women to show up as their authentic selves. We often don't realize that behind perfectionism, stress, procrastination, or inaction, there actually lays fear and anxiety. And behind that, old unhelpful stories that impact how we think. As a mom of 2 young children, a wife and a woman of God, and a child of Caribbean parents, Miss Amanda understands the complexities of our experiences that shape who we are and how we respond to life. She truly believes that to build strong businesses and experience emotional freedom, we have to have effective strategies to help us shed our self-doubt, calm our inner critic, feel capable, courageous, and in control of the direction we want to go in life. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Amanda Fludd.
Oh, thank
That
you.
part. I make sure to give the backgrounds and credentials, because the last thing I want is someone coming in, well, how do you know? And who do you, because she's got experience and she's got the receipts to prove it. So there you go.
Yeah.
That part.
Andrea has vetted me well, honey. Let's go.
Yes. Shoot, she said what she said. All right. So, Miss Amanda, if you had the opportunity to speak to an audience of your choosing, who would said audience be and what would you tell them?
Wow, I think my favorite people are women. I think women of a certain age, but honestly, folks that have like you've experienced life a little bit, you've kind of done the career thing, you've checked off all the boxes, but you're still having that feeling of like, like this is it. It's like when you wait on that line forever at Six Flags or something, and you get on the ride, you're like, that's it.
Right, that was anticlimactic. Okay.
Yeah, I like those women, right? Because I think we realize that we're capable of so much more, but however we've showed up in life doing all the things hasn't like personally satisfied us, right? And I think that kind of shows up in different ways if it is that place of not being satisfied, or we're still on like overdrive trying to meet these external expectations that really don't align with who we are. So I would love to talk to those folks that need to figure out who they are, what's important to them, their values, what gets them excited, and why it's okay for us to choose that instead of choosing everybody else or balancing that. I'm not saying we can't have some expectations, honey, and take care of the people in our lives, right? Yes. Self-care is not let me take everybody else off the list, but can we balance
that part? Okay. I like that, because I feel like I'm gonna go ahead and include myself in that list. Like, cause I'm just saying, I often ask, and I do, I've asked friends as of late, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like, because I feel like there's an inner child in all of us, and mine still don't know.
Yeah.
Mine still don't know what they want to be when they grow up. So, yeah, I think that would be an interesting conversation to have. And I'd like to be in
and
a
I
group
like
setting.
that. I love that. What do you want to be when you grow up? Because I think we lose sight of that, and we end up growing up to be everybody else's person, right? So,
ma'am, can we put a pin in that? Can we come back to that? Don't forget, I want to come back to that. Shoot. Okay.
All right.
Secondly, if you had a chance to speak with a younger version of yourself, let's say 4 or 5-year-old Amanda, what do you think she would need to hear?
4 or 5 years ago?
No. Not
4 or 5 years old.
Yes.
Way back. Way.
Yes.
Way
Little bitty Amanda. Yes.
Ooh, child, what would she need to hear? Okay, well, I think at that point, like, you're still oblivious to life. You're still like in your own bubble. So probably something like, girl, that bubble's about to pop.
And don't freak out when it do, right?
Right. But remember that, like, you are amazing, you're capable, and you're gonna get through it. I think even if it looks like everyone else is like kind of too busy trying to like navigate, but like, you're gonna be okay, right?
Yeah.
I think lots of different things have sort of happened in my life, as it does for everybody, but a lot of times, without knowing it, like, we take it very personal, and it has a really bad impact on us, right? And it shapes like who we become. But a lot of times, like, it's someone else's story, it's someone else's problem, and it's not necessarily ours, and it's not necessarily speaking to like our worth and what we are capable of. But it's easy to get lost in people's stuff, even family, even parents, things like that.
True. Okay. All right. I like that. So, hopping right in to the meat and potatoes, you deal with all things trauma, depression, anxiety, and especially for minority communities. Not to minimize other ethnicities in the least, but I will say I'm so glad that you recognize the need for proper representation in our community. You are needed. So I guess I wonder, like, what led you to the field of psychotherapy? Yes.
Yeah.
And then I guess I don't want to assume what led you to lean towards, the minority communities. I will allow you to speak because I can make my own, but I would like for you to share.
You're in trouble. You saw our ship was on fire, so you came. No.
Listen. Oh
my God. So what led me here? I think it was actually on accident. Talk about other people's stories. Like, I really wanted to be a teacher. And I remember, since you want to be taking people back to childhood, I remember having like my imaginary class and my little chalkboard there in our apartment. My mom, who's a nurse, she's like, "Don't be no teacher. They don't make any money." And I don't even know if that's exactly what she may have said, but that's what I hung on to. So I was like, okay, I want to do that. And I kind of got into, I think it was like physical therapy, but then sciences didn't work for me. Then I graduated, and I was like, I ain't gonna do nothing. I'm gonna take a break. I'm tired of learning. And then that one lady in church was like, "No, ma'am, you need to go back to school. And why don't you try social work?" And I was like, okay. And that just happened to get me on this trajectory where I ended up in the field of mental health. And I really just loved it. I've loved being able to listen to folks and give them a different perspective at looking at life. Because I think, again, we get lost in that. And that's where things like anxiety and depression and stuff come in, because we're just viewing it in this very one way that's causing all this hurt, this external hurt, this internal hurt. And I just found myself sort of enjoying that. So I'll tell people I enjoy other people's problems, honey. Okay. Sometimes when I'm laughing, I'm not really laughing with you. I might be laughing at you.
Oh, Lord. Oh, okay.
In a loving way, and I ended up working in a state facility. And I think that was a monumental point in my life, because a lot of changes came from that for me. Like, I recognized working there, this huge need in minority communities, because the majority of people that came into our facility, so the children's facility, were Black and brown children, right? So these were children that now could not go home because of the severity of their illness, their depression, their anxiety, psychosis, trauma, all of that stuff. And being there forced my skills to grow tremendously, because I'm now exposed to things that typical people just are not. And then just seeing and knowing that this is all happening because our community just didn't have the tools. Our community waits too long to get help. Our community kind of gets caught up in people that don't have the skills and experiences and give them half work. And then they end up at the end of the road where it's like, we're almost like one step from prison, right? So that was really heartbreaking for me. And it made me shift gears to looking at, okay, how can we bring this to the community? And that led into my own private practice in the community and developing my own team of clinicians, where education and learning is super important to me so that we can give good skills. I don't just work with minority clients, but it is the heart of my practice. And I'll even have white clients that come to us because we're Black. So, and that's okay. If that's the perspective that you want, that's fine. And then from there, it just evolved, where it was like, okay, I'm seeing a lot of women coming in with a lot, overthinking, anxiety, overwhelm, their trauma stories and stuff. And it still was like, we could do this sooner. And I don't want it to get in the way of your dreams and your success. I think Black women are amazing. You're phenomenal. We got so much to give. And it's just understanding just a little bit more of yourself to get there. And then that's why I switched gears to coaching a little bit, or added coaching to it, to help just kind of guide more people, because it's not always about like the dysfunction side of therapy, but just everyday skills. And that's why I ended up here. So it's really been like this evolution, and Black people in particular, minority people in particular, because that's just who I've seen as the most disadvantaged. That's the people that I see in systems, right? Yeah. And that's the people that their stories was they were going to whoever, white people in the community, my majority, right? Or underskilled folks in the community, and this is where they ended up. And I think there's something special about being able to see somebody that looks like you, and to be able to connect, right? So I won't say it's the only thing you need, but it's important. So I love being able to provide that for folks. Yeah.
I'm not sure, and I've heard you say it a couple times already, that we don't do it soon enough.
Oh,
it's so true. Like, I'm not sure, and if you are, in all of your studies and experience, if you are familiar with the reason, I would love to know it, but I'm not sure where the root of the idea, especially in the African-American community, that it makes us look weak or lesser than if we choose to take steps to improve the state of our mental health. Mm-hmm. But it's a lie that needs to return to the pit of hell. Like, where does that come from? Is that something that you are familiar with, that you can see?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, right, and we could even just like ask this of your audience, I mean, how many of us were raised with this idea that like family business stays in the house, right? Like, we don't talk about it. And rightfully so, we may have good reason, right? Because we don't want to be judged, right? Or we don't want to be looked on in a bad way. And I think that's probably like deep historical stuff too, just because like just survival, right? It made sense to protect the part of you that may not look okay, right? So I'm just like going to like a job interview or something. You're not going to say, oh yeah, these are my weaknesses, right? Right. We're not starting there, right? We're starting with our strengths. So I think as a family, we've done that culturally though, right? Or we see things and we brush it off. Like, we know, oh, something ain't right with daddy, honey. He just be there drinking every day, but okay, leave daddy when he's drinking. Y'all just go downstairs and play.
Yeah.
Right? Or, oh yes, that's your crazy grandmother, honey. Just don't talk to her too long. Don't look at her in the eye. So we find ways to like justify it and to move on. I think because we're just worried about what it's going to mean for us. And maybe we just also don't know how to deal with it. But I think sometimes we get things are problematic though. Yeah.
And then, I mean, sometimes I believe that we are fully aware that something is not right.
Oh, yeah.
But then it's like, what do you do with that? Mm-hmm. Especially when it's like ingrained in the culture, what happens in the house stays in the house.
Oh
So then
yeah.
there's a level of like fear,
Oh, that's
anxiety,
real.
or whatever. It's like you're ashamed or afraid to speak on it. So we do
Absolutely.
exactly like you
Absolutely.
just said. We bury it, knowing full
Yeah.
well
It's a
something ain't
problem.
right, but also then not understanding or realizing the repercussions of said actions and or trauma that surely will come to visit us, if not in
Again.
our soon but later adult years. Like, it's crazy.
It'll just keep going, right?
Yeah.
And that's a problem. And I want to say too, I mean, society reinforces that, right? Because we see images of Black and brown folk like they're the ones getting arrested. There are studies, and these are factual things, where more minorities do end up, you know, hospitalized in clinics and settings and stuff, right? So I think when you hear that, it also creates that hesitation too, because it's like, well, I don't want to be like victimized because I'm asking for help, right? But I have to say that, you know, while that is a possibility, there's still this wide window of support that you can get. And I think especially when you go to somebody that is more like culturally aware and gets it, they're less likely to jump into, oh, this is a problem, really? We need to involve as opposed to understanding the cultural dynamics, and can be a little bit more tolerant also.
And that's why people like you are needed, man. I'm so glad to see this type of thing. Like,
yeah.
So yes. All right. So one of the other things that you touched on, you said, you spoke about how we as women are hard on ourselves. So I think, and if I am being presumptuous, y'all can let me know. You know, I'm thick skinned. I'm not easily offended. Slide in my DMs and say, Andrea, you missed the mark. But I think that that is something that every woman struggles with, regardless of creed, character, ethnicity. But I will say, and I'm saying this from the perspective of a Black woman, that it's even more so with us. And before y'all attack me, I'm going to use myself as an example. I went through some kind of no, it was a conflict and resolution seminar at my last place of employment. And we were talking about microaggressions and stuff like that. And certain ethnicities did not get it. And listen, so I gave the example, and when they did, they got it. So I say one of the things that gives me some of the most anxiety in a professional workplace is I don't want to be seen as the angry Black woman. Like, it really does something to me. I had an experience where one of the ladies was like, well, I was afraid that okay, what about my demeanor caused you to fear me in the workplace? What you're aggressive. What, am I aggressive or am I assertive? There's a difference. So what I do to overcompensate, and this is something that a lot of friends don't even know, I smile a lot and I talk in a different register to make myself appear more friendly and open. Exactly. Well, the fact of the matter is, I am a singer, so I have a very low voice. But in the business world, I'm very chipper. I speak in a different register. Yes, and I smile a lot because I don't want to be seen as that angry Black woman.
Crazy.
And they want, when they said that, they was like, oh wow, like she does. She's always smiling. She does sound very chipper, but it's because of those things. Y'all don't recognize the microaggressions. Oh, the slight dishes, the shade. And it's like, so as a Black woman, no diss to any of the other people that's listening, but as a Black woman, that really strikes me hard. So if you would like to speak to that part about women being hard on ourselves, and if you would like to, even since this is your specialty, address the minority community as it pertains to that as well.
Yeah, and I love that you brought in the realm, because I think that's what it is. Because I think like women are behind, period, right? So I think that's why it kind of applies to all women, because we're all working so hard to be seen, to have our voices heard, and to fit in somewhere in this like white man driven world, right? But then at the bottom of that is Black and brown women, right? So we way at the bottom, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So sis, maybe you can slide in and I don't know, wiggle your pencil skirt and be all right. But like, we got to do extra. We got to slide in, wiggle, smile, watch the tone of voice, like you're saying. And if I could ask you, I mean, do you find that exhausting?
It is mentally exhausting. Like, and to prepare for it, knowing that this is what I'm about to walk into, it takes a whole moment. So a lot of times
you
when
gotta
I do
really gather yourself before you even get there. Right?
So when I'm in relationships, like if I come home and you wonder why I don't want to be bothered. Well, you don't have a physically demanding job. You're in management. Yes, I am. But I'm managing not only other people's emotions, characters, ethnicities, backgrounds, but I'm managing myself, because I know if I come across too aggressively, then you get those complaints to HR. Oh, I was afraid, and she blah, 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 blah. Angry Black woman syndrome. So yes, ma'am, I'm sorry. You struck a nerve. It is exhausting.
Yeah, so we have a lot more to juggle. And I think that becomes the problem, because we are thinking about all those roles, how much we've got to put on just so we can show up and be accepted and looked at in a certain way, right? And not stories around us that say this is how we are, right? If we don't smile at you, something must be wrong and we're aggressive, right? So our tone is just a little bit off and it means something different, right? So, you know, I think that's why it's kind of different and unique for us too. And it's something to recognize, right? Maybe you have the privilege of not having that concern, but it doesn't mean that everybody else around you doesn't think they share in that privilege. And I love that you guys even had the space to kind of have that conversation. I think we need more spaces like that. And we've got to find ways to give women that voice, and Black women in particular that voice. Because when we don't have it, we kind of eat ourselves up. I think we kind of internalize it more, like it must be something wrong with me, right? Am I really angry? Right? Did I do something like, right? Did I not get that promotion even because I'm not good enough? And that's something we struggle with a lot, the sense of I'm not good enough, right? I'm not doing enough. I haven't worked hard enough. I'm not qualified enough. And that sends us into overdrive, right? So I got to study more. I got to stay up late. I got to be the one that leaves work at 10:02 p.m. while everybody else left at 4:32, right? So, and it becomes this ridiculous cycle of essentially trying to prove ourselves. And that's where all this like anxiety, overwhelm starts to kick in, and it sits on us physically as well. Our mind and bodies are so deeply connected, right? When you're starting to get those migraines, right? And you're having digestive issues and all sorts of things are happening, it's because of this whole like noise and battle in your head to show up as worthy enough, but always really feeling like you aren't, like you're in the back. And really we are in the back. We are.
So it's like, you used to hear them say, well, you know, as a Black person, you have to do things, you have to be twice as smart, you have to work twice as hard. Man, like we do though, like we legit do. So
we legit do. Yeah. But it's a fight, right? It's a fight with ourselves to balance that. And I think to a degree, sometimes knowing that we're fighting like this system and like a culture that's harder, like we alone can't change it, right? So, you know, really questioning, why do I feel like I need to work so hard? And do I actually need to? Like, does it really matter at the end of the day, right? So, you know, I think we have to question that too, because yes, we're behind. Yes, we've got to work, but it doesn't mean that you should be overworking all the time, because it's costing us and they honestly don't care. And at the end of the day, you're replaceable too. So you burnt out, you tired. Oh, like, okay, bye, sis. Oh, yes, honey, here's the gift card. We're so happy. Oh, get well. Next, who's coming in? Like,
they will have your job posted while you getting wheeled out on the stretcher. Okay. Have mercy, Jesus.
So you got to balance it for ourselves too. So, and remind yourself how important you are, because you know you don't hear enough in the workplace. and anywhere sometimes. So you've got to tell yourself too, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So I think another thing that you touched on earlier, you were like past trauma, it's going to show up somewhere down the line.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that you speak about is the role of trauma or emotions in business. It's going to show up somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to show up somewhere.
Oh,
And how much, yeah, right. And how much better would it be for you to try to tackle this thing before it shows up in some of the most unexpected places or ways?
mm-hmm. Absolutely. In so many different ways. Because I think the thing about trauma is that it has no respect for you, right? No respect for
Disrespectful.
time, place, person. So you could be minding your business, walking down the street, and somebody just they're walking by you, and like you go into a panic because you think they're coming after you, right? It could be at work, and your manager speaks to you in a tone that was a little like critical, right? As whoever your family, whoever used to be, when you were younger, and you're like a hot mess quivering in the corner. Your days are wrapped. You don't even know what to do with yourself. You can't even focus anymore. Like those are all trauma responses, right? And you can pretend that it's not there. We can put it aside, but your brain is always on go, and it's always looking for those cues, because in a way it's trying to keep you safe, but unfortunately it can't tell what isn't okay. So it can absolutely show up. Things like shame that's associated with our trauma, right? Like that can show up, that can stop you from doing things. It can stop you from speaking up. It can stop you from feeling comfortable in certain spaces, right? So there's so much that have happened to us that when you don't address it and you just dress it up, make it look pretty, it'll still follow you places, and it'll really kind of sabotage your success, really, if you think about it,
Sabotage success.
Yeah. I'm gonna give you like this example that's in my head, because we always think of trauma sometimes of like sexual and physical, right? Which is very common, but there's other types of trauma too. So I have a client who experienced just the trauma of like poverty, right? And for her, it's like, I can never be good enough to replace that. And there's a lot of cultural aspects to that too, just from where she's from. And for her, that's meant super achieving so that she would never be poor again, but then she can never acknowledge like how hard she's worked and her accomplishments, and even just see that you have a lot already, right? So it's never enough. It's like she's always doing, always going, wearing herself out. Phenomenal person if you just knew all the degrees and all that stuff that she has, but she can't see it, right? And that's what trauma looks like. It can steal just your present vision of just how great and powerful you are, because there's this deep need of like, it's not enough, right? Or I know what that one time in my life was like when I didn't have it. I'm fighting so hard never to get there that I can't even see that I'm not even there right now. So just another way to kind of look at that.
Mm-hmm. So as an adjunct professor, higher learning, I'm assuming you said professor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's funny. That's where I was. I'm not going to give the name of the institution, but that's where I was when we were having the, I don't want to say conversation. It was actual seminar about like conflict resolution and things like that. So at the risk, well, don't risk, but is that something that you have seen even in your professional dealings? And if so, what advice would you give to those in that setting on how to handle and or maneuver that type of behavior once you're sure? Because I'm sure everyone plays the back. Did I just see what I just saw? Did that just really happen? Like, you try to check yourself before you verbalize outside what it is that you're experiencing. So once they've done that ring around the rosy, I'm like, I see what I see. What what advice would you give to someone hoping to address the matter while not looking like the angry Black woman?
She's like, I'm trying not to be this today, guys.
I'm trying hard.
But you're gonna bring it out. Oh my gosh. And I have to say, like, I feel like that's a balance too, right? Because it can be exhausting too to always have to like correct people and defend and things like that too, right? And again, going back to like the burdens that we carry and all these roles and responsibilities we have as Black people and as just women too, that we're trying to maintain, that can be so exhausting and taxing on us physically and emotionally. But so in those settings, what I think it's important to have a diverse group of people, right? So this way it doesn't fall on just one person's experience. And in the same way that you were in that conversation, I think fostering those conversations so that they can hear it from different people, right? So like I'm super mindful of making sure like my groups and stuff are mixed when we're doing group work and things like that. And bringing up topics that we know are an issue, but allowing people to talk from their perspectives, because everybody has a perspective. And unfortunately, some people, their perspective, it just seems 100% valid, right? And they've never had the experience of someone else to even kind of challenge that. So it is their truth, right? I've been around people that's like, I never saw a Black person until I got to high school. Word.
I'm not even gonna talk about the experience. I'm not. But you want to talk about
their world is really different.
Woo.
Like, dang, right? So it's like we've got to foster diverse, settings and places and be willing to have those conversations, but also in a place where it's not about getting mad, but it's about understanding that I just may not have had the experience of the other and being open to that. So, I mean, that's how I kind of foster it, but I feel like it's such a hard question because it happens often. I've been in that position at work, and even as a supervisor, it's like, I'm not sure how to tell this lady that she's a racist, right? So, and I struggle with that. Yeah. Right, because I know if it comes out of me, it's going to be filtered through my own like hurt and stuff like that, and it's not going to come out right. I'm not going to keep it PC. It's not going to be like buttoned up pretty. And you're right, she's probably going to be going to HR talking about she's scared of me, right? But what that's meant for me too is like I've been more silent in places that I didn't really need to be. But I also know in that particular setting, after a while, it was also part of the reason why I had to leave, because it wasn't healthy for me. And it was taking my joy, and it was a system. So even me addressing this one person wasn't going to change like this systematic problem, because I wasn't the only one that recognized that too, but we allowed it in the system. We didn't have the trainings to address it. We didn't have the trainings in how, even in a managerial position, that we can address it. And it's ongoing, right? So for me, it was like, I see this is a systematic issue. It's bigger than me, and I'm just going to exit. So sometimes you have to know too when it's okay to exit to protect yourself.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
and that's hard. Crazy. Yeah.
It's hard.
Sometimes, like, I feel like I have a million words flooding the one mouth that I have. Mm-hmm. And it's probably for the best, because in some of the words, they don't get the chance to escape. But it's like,
they did, honey. Lord, I see them dragging you out on the news like,
because sometimes I find myself like unreasonably angry. Like, it's 2021.
Oh my God.
Why do I have to have this conversation with you, lady? You know, you don't call us colored. That's no longer acceptable. Like, I shouldn't have to have this conversation. Oh, Lord help. So yeah, I find myself like unreasonably angry, but then like bile, have to swallow and choke it down.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's something bigger than that one person, because y'all know she walking around here calling people colored, and y'all heard her and y'all ain't said nothing. Like,
right.
So yeah.
Right. And I have to tell you, like that is even trauma, right? Like those are little traumas, right? Because we are witnessing things that are triggering us, right? It's triggering my anger as a Black person, a brown person, because I've also witnessed this in so many places, right? And here it is again. So it's not just in this moment that I'm having this with you, it's all these other moments that are now flooding in and generating all this feeling in me. And that's what they don't recognize and see, right? They're like, why are you just getting mad at this one thing? No, it's not just that. It's that it's been happening for so long that's why I feel the way that I feel and show up the way that I show up, right? Because I've been traumatized just because of the color of my skin, and being in this place in this country, right? Like this past year was tough with all this like racial stuff that happened. You know what I'm saying? And
Real tough.
it doesn't have to happen to you directly. Just seeing it changes you, and that has an impact on you. And that's what's really hard, right? Like, why is that bothering you? Why are you walking around here looking sad? And why are you acting funny? Because I don't even know how to be right now.
For real. I mean, so, and we didn't have to go there, but I'll just say it, one like blazing example right now is the whole Rittenhouse verdict that came through. And it's like, I don't even know how to be. So I just kindly, politely exited stage left. I didn't do no social media yesterday. I'm not doing this with y'all.
Right.
I need to figure out how to process this. Why it's like hitting so hard like a gut punch. I was like, no, I'm just going to hang with myself.
Absolutely. And that's trauma, this thing that's in your body, because you feel that in your body. It shifts you, it changes you. You feel that in your mind where you start questioning things, right? Because I'm here like, yo, America's crazy. Like, I don't even know like how safe I feel here. And I remember feeling that even at work when some of the other things were going down. I'm still in that system where it was like, yo, I don't even know who to trust right now. I don't even know how I feel about this. And I could share that with other minority colleagues, right? They're like, yeah, I don't even know. My white colleagues didn't have that experience though, right? They're like, oh, kumbaya, let's get together. Oh, do you want to lead the Black discussion on what should be happening? No, just because I'm Black?
Gosh,
no, thank you. No,
that's exactly what happened.
Right.
They had a whole, we'd like, you know, to give you guys the opportunity to process your emotions. I'm not processing my emotions now. It's only that look like me, and y'all waiting for us to talk about it. We ain't stop. Nope. Nope.
Yeah. No, we're busy being traumatized, boo. We need a moment.
God help us.
Oh
God
my gosh.
help us.
And so, you know, so I want to bring this back to, this is why we have to take care of ourselves, right? Because all these things do add up. And this is why our anger builds, our anxiety builds, our frustration builds, because going back to this idea that we hold everything in, we don't talk about it. We have to present to the world in a certain way, like we're good, but on the inside, we're not, right? So, okay, where are you putting that? Who are you talking to, right? How are you moving this thing through your body? Are you walking? Are you taking time to meditate? Do you need some high energy? Let me go kickbox before I punch you in your face on accident.
Hey, that's real. That's real.
Right? Or I back up into your car because I just pressed it too hard on accident, right?
Ooh, have mercy.
So we've got to be conscious of that, because I don't think we're always conscious of the impact of what's happening within us. We just kind of feel it a little bit, right? Like you're like, let me disconnect because I can't even go there. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Like there's a lot of disruption and chaos that's happening within us when this happens, because you're really questioning your being. Where do I belong? Where am I safe? Like, is this okay for me? Right? So all of that gets disrupted, and we've got to figure out places and spaces to put that and manage that so we can manage our day-to-day successfully. Yeah.
Woo.
Woo. That's it. Woo. Y'all take some deep breaths and woo.
Yes.
Woo.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Woo,
so
we ain't come to play today, honey. I feel like we be playing with mental health sometimes. Like it's not all cute. Like I hate all this like self-care. I like get my nails done too, but that ain't it. Like it's deep, man. Right? We really got to talk about what we're experiencing, what we're not talking about. So I love that you have this space for these kind of conversations.
It's necessary, because like you said, let me do this kickboxing before I punch you in the face. Hey, that's real. That's real. I got this deep-seated aggression within me, and even if I try to explain to you, you're not going to understand because you made up your mind that you want to remain willfully ignorant. So I got to get this off me before it get up on you.
Okay. All right. And we suckers too, right? Because we know they not understanding, and we still be going because we want to defend ourselves, right? And we're going and going and getting madder and madder and madder, and they just sitting there watching you like, but why? Right? And then we look horrendous because they're just not getting it, and we fell for that stupid booby trap. We feel like we got to get into it.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why you gotta choose your battles sometimes too, where it's like, boo, not today.
Yeah, no.
The one.
And that's why I just like, I'm not doing Facebook, I'm not doing social media today. I was like, nope, the devil is a lie.
Yeah, stop. Stop. Ooh.
So, question, do you have any like new developments or projects that you're working on that's coming down the pipeline? Because I feel like while you do a lot, I feel like you have so much to offer. Like when I say you and people like you are needed, man, you are
Can I tell you
needed.
something before I even say that? Because this bothers me, and I don't know if you ever done an episode on this, and maybe we need to, because it just kills me.
Oh, say, talk to me. What's up?
A lot of people don't like to spend money.
No, wait, let me adjust that for you. We're gonna spend it on stuff that we think is important. And I don't want to be negative. I don't want to do the whole stereotype thing,
Right.
but doggone it. Even Kanye said, I went and got me some jewelry before I got me a house. It's like, but he right though. Like, so yeah, we don't want to spend money on I feel you, sis. I'm sorry. Here I am apologizing.
And like, right. And again, like, I don't want to stereotype, but I think it might go, like, we've got to shift our mindset around things, even around this idea of getting help. That it's like, you've got to invest in that a little bit too, right? Like, we're busy investing, if I may, in hiding, right? So with the jewelry, right, with the dope makeup, right, with our outfits, so you can't see the mess, right? But it's like, how long can you mask that? Yeah. You know, so at some point, all that money that you find to do all of that, like, you got to put that into like getting yourself better and like really elevating on a level where you can maintain that. Like, wealth is a whole different place to be than just having money, right? And to me, your emotional health, like, that is your wealth, because you can't build a foundation on a hot mess of a mind, because it's just going to fall apart. You'll lose it in some place, right? So I think it's something that just bothers me on so many levels, because like, I'll do things like trainings and stuff for my people on the professional rim, and it's like crickets, right? And then, but sometimes we'll open up those doors to non-colored folks, and they'll swoop in and they'll spend their money and they don't care. So it's like why? Like, why are we in that place? You know what I mean? And why do we have to work so hard to get you to see that I need this and this would be a benefit for me? So I really want to say that we got to reevaluate our lives, because it don't even matter what I put out there. If you're not in a position to see your own value, and even more valuable you would be if you took the time to invest in you from the inside out, girl.
You're right.
So yeah. You caught me at a moment.
I'm sorry. It's okay. This is a safe place.
Oh, child. But that said, I would just say, kind of follow me on social media and stuff. On Instagram at Amanda.Fludd, Fludd. And as things come up, we always put it there. So be it sort of workshops and things where you could come in and learn about things, right? Like, why am I people pleasing? How to get over procrastination. We try to do those single workshops throughout the year. I have a thing for women in business. So from time to time, I'll do things with them too. We have like a mastermind going right now. It's a small group of like women in business, like a t-shirt designer or educator that's trying to get out of the system and do her own thing. But how do we uplift each other and give each other the skills to do things we may not necessarily see every day? The business side of things is different than just having an idea, right? So how do we get out there? How do we market? All that good stuff. But we get to do that together. It's just a Black and brown community. So I do lots of things throughout the year. I would just say, kind of follow, participate, share. Your minimum might be hitting like, right? Yeah. You ain't ready to like your pockets, at least part of it. You know what I'm saying? But we gotta really step back and think about ourselves, man, because we're losing because we're not taking care of things emotionally, and we're really pretending we're okay when it's like, yo, you're not.
We're not.
Really not.
So I know you just shared one of the places where my audience can find you. Got any other social media handles, websites, the whole nine? Where can my people find you?
Yeah, so therapy wise, we're also on Instagram at Therapy is Dope, because it absolutely is. So there's a lot of education there on the different aspects of mental health and understanding that, what that looks like, and different ways to get connected. My website itself, www.amandafludd.com. So everything is basically Amanda Fludd, F-L-U-D-D. It's great stuff on therapy. If you want to get into therapy, if you want to get into the coaching realm, that's there. Lots of great blogs and information and stuff like that. So that's a great place to be. If you are a minority woman in business, you can search for our group on Facebook as well. Mindset and motivation for women entrepreneurs of color. I think if you just put in mindset plus motivation, it'll pop up right away. So many places for you to get what you need. Okay. There's no reason.
She's like, please,
okay.
Please.
No, we everywhere.
I know that's
oh
right.
my God, we on LinkedIn too. Okay, so if you have a business that you need some training, some consultation, we are with it and for it. So come on, Amanda Fludd on LinkedIn. What you need,
that
girl?
part. She was like that Capital One commercial. She everywhere you want to be. So just do it. Man, Amanda, I really appreciate this conversation this morning. I feel like I had a chance to exhale on a few different points. And then I was triggered on a few different points as well, but that just goes to show just how much conversations like this are needed. And we need to find some places where we feel safe enough to have the conversation.
Yeah, and to really know that you're not crazy, but like, oh, other people are having this experience too.
Yes.
Oh, all
you're
right.
not crazy. You see what you see, and you, ma'am or sir, you see what you see, and you hear what you hear. You ain't crazy. Doggone it. But yes, thank you so much, man. And that subject that you breached about, I know you're in the place about, Black folks don't spend money. If that is another subject, we are not so different, would love to come and talk about it some more, because I feel like this is needed and it's so important, especially with the stuff that you're seeing escalated. We're being bombarded visually on social media, on the news. Like you say, we got to put it somewhere. You don't just walk around holding this and now you got a hole in your gut because you got all this pent up whatever. So it's imperative. So yes, thank you for spending your time with We Are Not So Different this morning. You are appreciated. Look, all y'all listening and or watching, I'm hoping that this conversation really did something for you. Go find Miss Amanda Fludd. She everywhere you want to be. She already said where you can find the help. It's out there. So the excuse that I've done. And do something nice for yourself. It's the weekend. Go do something for yourself because you deserve it. Until next weekend, y'all. Love you. Peace.
We are not so different.